Hey nobodies, it's me once again, here with my co-host, Mr. Nobody. So today I'm going to be talking about why being autistic sucks, because I happen to be on the autism spectrum myself. I know that's not particularly surprising because autistic guys online are about a dime for 10 dozen. Finding an autistic guy online is like finding more hay in a haystack. So I'm not exactly an oddity here online. But I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this as an autistic person because a lot of people I've noticed, a lot of like normal people, they think autism is like this cute little mental quirk that makes you like a genius or something, like your Rain Man or whatever. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the vast majority of us aren't exactly Rain Man. In fact, for the vast majority of us autistic folks, autism is nothing more than like just an annoying pain in the ass. And I'm going to go into a few reasons why by consulting the board of cringe. I got a few reasons listed here. The first reason why being autistic sucks is that it makes you come across as just weird. Just the way you present yourself, like the way you dress. For example, this shirt looks hideous. No one in their right mind would dress like this unless you're an autistic loaf like me. No one would wear this hideous thing on a public website like YouTube unless you're an autistic loaf like me. But that's not all. You know, a lot of us have really bad eye contact. We have a hard time like looking people in the eye when we talk. A lot of us have odd speech patterns. I know I do. A lot of us have we're not good about changing the pitch of our voices when we talk. And we talk really monotone. That's how I used to kind of talk when I was a kid. I used to waddle when I walked. You know, I used to get made fun of a lot when I was a kid because I used to waddle like a penguin. I kind of had to like teach myself how to walk like a normal person. And these are all just, not every autistic person does these things, by the way. But a lot of us do. And I'm just, naming off random things. But the main thing that a lot of us do is we do this thing is we call stim. And what that means is when we get like a bunch of energy in us or when we get like really wound up, we move our bodies around in really unusual ways to kind of relieve ourselves of being wound up and having all this pent up, whatever inside you. Like some of us will like rock back and forth. Or what I like to do personally is I like to wiggle my fingers really fast in my ears and on my face. That's how I stim. Or I grip my teeth really hard while I'm doing it sometimes. And when I do this, a lot of times I don't even realize I'm doing it. And I used to do it like in public and whatnot, like at the store or at school or at work. Never realized that I did it. And people would look at me all weird, like, what is wrong with this guy? And I'd be like, why are these people looking at me like that? And I realized, oh, I was doing this in front of them. The second reason is the social awkwardness. I already made a whole video about being socially awkward, so I won't get into it too much here. But how the hell do you talk to people? How the hell? The socialization thing, to me and a lot of other autistic people, is like playing the piano blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back. And it blows my mind because something that's so hard and so complex to us is just like this natural, normal, everyday thing for most normal people. But for people like me, it's like just going up to someone and starting a conversation or going to a party and just having conversations with strangers. It's like, how the hell do you do that? For example, I had this new coworker at my job. I didn't know a whole lot about him. I just really knew that he liked hunting. And I tried to start a conversation with him. So I'm like, okay, well, he likes hunting. I've never really hunted before, but I've played duck hunt on the NES. That kind of counts, right? So I was like, hey, you ever play duck hunt on the NES? No. Awkward silence for the rest of the day. And like, so I mean, what do I talk about this guy with? What do we have in common? I mean, just socialization. I just don't get it. I know a lot of other people in my shoes don't get it. It sucks. It's hard. And it's just one of the things that sucks about being autistic. The next reason, the weird interests, the intense fixations you have. That's like the thing that makes autistic people really stand out and makes some of us into quote-unquote geniuses, is that they develop these really intense obsessive interests on things and become like experts. Like I've got a buddy of mine who lives in Massachusetts who is an excellent drummer. To me, he sounds every bit as good as Neil Peart. And I know that's saying a lot, but he is just damn good because he was able to exploit his autism and his ability to have these intense interests into learning the drums, and he became amazing at it. And you got people like Greta Thunberg girl who is autistic, and she was able to use her autism to become like an expert on the environment and global warming and whatnot. And she's like really famous and everything now. So there are exceptions to the rule. Most people like me use their intense interests on like pointless stuff like video games and anime. Not that there's anything wrong with that stuff. I love video games and anime too. But I mean, there's much better things you could be focusing on. But for some reason, our brains just make us focus on these things that are ultimately kind of pointless. Like for me, when I was a kid, I used to be like really obsessed with old game shows from the 70s and 80s. Like really obsessed. I'm like an encyclopedia, a human encyclopedia on 70s and 80s game shows. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch the Game Show Network back when they used to show like a lot of old game shows like Password and Pyramid and the old Match Game. I used to watch that stuff for hours daily. And I look back on my childhood, I'm like, I could have spent my childhood doing much more constructive things than watching these old game shows. Like, why didn't I? And it's just, my brain, it just made me really obsessed with these game shows for some reason. And I have no idea why. They just drugged me in. They just held my interest. And that's how it is with a lot of people. I read about people having obsessions over like professional wrestling from the 1940s or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is that makes our brains just like attached to this stuff, but it just does. I wish I could be someone who could use their autism to obsess over something cool like playing an instrument or, being an expert on important world events or whatever, but my brain just isn't wired that way. Wish it was, but it is what it is. The last thing is the mockery. Remember like 20 years ago or so when it was like the thing for people to be like, oh, you're retarded. You're a retard. Retard. I mean, being retarded was like the thing that people always used to make fun of. Well, now it's really not like that anymore. People are kind of moving away from that, which is a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. But now the new thing is like making fun of autistic people. Autistic is like the new retarded. People are like, oh, you're autistic. You have autism. That's become like the new thing to make fun of. Doesn't really offend me personally. I mean, it is what it is. But it is something I've noticed, and it does bother a lot of people, and I can understand why. But I just find that interesting that, we've moved away from retarded, but now we've moved on to autism. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed. So, I don't know. But yeah, these are just a few reasons why I think being autistic sucks. And maybe there's someone out there who also is autistic who has their own reasons. Maybe you can put it in the comments section if you're watching. But these are just the ones I came up with. And yeah, that's all I got to say in this video. Later, nobodies.